Have you ever been given a piece of advice that just, I don't know, landed perfectly? Like it shifted your whole perspective in an instant?
Oh, definitely.
Or maybe, and this happens too, you've had that less fortunate experience,
Yeah.
receiving counsel that felt completely useless, maybe even hurtful.
Yeah, that stings. And then there's the other side of it, right?
Exactly. The times you've offered advice, really hoping your words would genuinely help someone,
Mm-hmm.
but you're left wondering if they actually made any impact at all. What makes that exchange truly powerful, truly meaningful?
Or, like you said, utterly futile. It's such a universal human dance, isn't it?
It really is.
These moments of counsel, whether we're giving or receiving, they can be pivotal. They can, cement relationships, maybe alter the course of a life.
Right.
Or, unfortunately, just create distance and misunderstanding. The weight of these interactions is often, well, far greater than we might think at first.
Absolutely. And today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that, the ancient Stoic art of offering guidance and, just as crucially, receiving it.
Ah, the Stoics. Good choice.
We're talking about essentially a master class in how to give philosophical advice effectively, with empathy, wisdom, humility.
And then flipping that coin over.
Right. Exploring that equally important skill,
Mhm.
receiving feedback, receiving criticism without getting defensive, seeing it as a genuine opportunity for growth.
Precisely. And our guides for this journey, they're really titans of Stoicism, figures whose lives and teachings still resonate with incredible power today. We're talking about Seneca.
The Roman statesman, playwright, philosopher.
And Epictetus, the former slave who became this profound Stoic teacher. Their insights, honestly, they offer a timeless manual for navigating these tricky human interactions.
And we're drawing from a really rich tapestry of sources for this deep dive. We're looking at powerful bits from William Irvine's A Guide to the Good Life, The Practical Wisdom in a Handbook for New Stoics.
And we'll delve into Epictetus himself, his discourses, the Enchiridion, plus get some historical context from James Romm's book on Seneca and Nero.
Yeah, dying every day. And to bridge the gap to today, we'll touch on contemporary perspectives too, like Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, maybe some insights from lessons in Stoicism.
So our mission today is pretty clear then. We want to uncover those Stoic principles that lift advice giving from just, sharing opinions.
To something truly impactful.
Exactly. And, importantly, to equip you, our listener, with the tools to take feedback productively, you should leave this deep dive with some actionable insights, grounded in both philosophy and practical application.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
And I think we have to start with the foundation Stoic guidance, as really exemplified by Seneca's extraordinary journey. Because this wasn't some academic just thinking quietly somewhere.
No, not at all. His life was, a dramatic roller coaster, extreme highs, terrifying lows.
So his philosophy wasn't just thought up, it was battle-tested.
That's the critical starting point, I think. Seneca's personal story isn't just background. It's the very bedrock of his credibility as an advisor. He wasn't theorizing from some ivory tower, totally detached from life's grit. He lived through the kind of adversity that, frankly, would break most people. And that experience, it just imbues his insights with this incredible practicality, makes it resonate for anyone seeking guidance.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Here's a man condemned to death under Emperor Claudius for alleged adultery.
Yeah, serious charges.
And that sentence gets commuted, but to 8 years of banishment to Corsica, described as this barren and thorny rock.
Imagine that. In his 40s, a man of letters, influence, suddenly ripped from his life, sent to this isolated, harsh place.
Stripped of everything, status, comfort, freedom, left to grapple with these extreme externals. It wasn't just a tough time. It must have been this, profound crucible.
Absolutely formative, you'd have to think, where he'd be practicing his stoicism, reading, writing in isolation.
His time in Corsica, that period of severe deprivation, social isolation, constant uncertainty.
Yeah.
It undoubtedly shaped his understanding of what really matters, right?
For sure. When all those external supports are just stripped away, what's left?
Your inner self.
The Stoic answer, yeah. Your inner citadel, your judgment, your character, your virtues. It's difficult to dismiss the counsel of someone who has stared down death, faced banishment, and come out not just intact, but intellectually sharpened.
Right. His grasp of resilience, finding inner peace when everything outside is chaos.
Yeah.
It was forged in that fire.
Definitely.
And his story gets even wilder. It really demonstrates those unpredictable turns of fortune the Stoics talked about so much.
Doesn't it just?
So, in 49 CE, Agrippina, Claudius's wife, recalls him to Rome. Why? To tutor her 11-year-old son,
Nero.
Nero. And from there, he doesn't just return to public life, he skyrockets. He becomes like the most renowned citizen of his time, the greatest living writer, the favorite of the empress.
It's an incredible comeback.
Seneca himself was supposedly surprised. He apparently asked, "Is it I, born a simple knight, a provincial, who am numbered with the magnates of the realm?" It just highlights these extreme swings he lived through.
And that dramatic rise from impoverished exile to imperial advisor to, well, one of history's most infamous emperors, it wasn't just his intellect. It showed incredible adaptability, political skill, resilience.
So sure.
And that unique viewpoint, having endured adversity, navigated treacherous power corridors, achieved surprising success. That's what makes his philosophical insights so intensely practical. When Seneca gives advice, especially in his letters, it's not abstract theory.
No.
It's wisdom from someone who lived through the very challenges he discusses. That gives his counsel huge credibility, a deeply human dimension.
So his wisdom was truly battle-tested, forged in personal and political turmoil. Which leads us right into Seneca's practical philosophy, how he applied it.
Right.
Especially his view on philosophy itself. For him, it wasn't some lofty academic thing.
Not at all. He saw it as deeply, fundamentally human. Seneca believed the true philosopher is the teacher of humanity.
Yeah.
His main concern wasn't abstract stuff or complex logic puzzles. He was deeply committed to putting Stoicism to work. You know, in the moral education of people like Lucilius, his correspondent, he valued philosophy primarily for its ability to benefit your state of mind, your conduct of life.
So like a guide, a therapy.
Exactly, a practical tool for living better, for becoming more virtuous, more tranquil, not just piling up knowledge for its own sake.
And he really didn't have much patience for purely theoretical knowledge, did he? He famously said something like, "To desire to know more than is sufficient is a form of intemperance."
That's the one.
This pursuit of liberal studies makes men wearisome, woody, tactless, and complacent. They do not learn what they need because they have already learned things which are superfluous.
That's such a powerful critique, maybe even more relevant today.
Oh, definitely.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of what you learn, what you consume daily, is truly useful for living well, for guiding your actions, shaping your character, and how much is just mental clutter, distracting you from what matters? It's a really pertinent challenge, especially now in our information overload age. It's easy to mistake the sheer volume of data for actual wisdom. Seneca wasn't anti-learning, but he was pushing for discernment.
Right. Choose wisely.
Yeah. He challenged that idea that just accumulating facts automatically makes you wise or leads to a good life. He urged people to figure out what knowledge truly serves your moral and practical growth, and maybe discard the rest.
And this Roman Stoic focus on practicality, it meant they had maybe a more restricted view of philosophy than the Greeks.
Generally, yes. Compared to their Greek predecessors, who often got deep into physics and intricate logic, Roman Stoics like Seneca focused heavily, almost exclusively, on practical moral doctrine. The applicability of philosophy to daily life, to personal transformation, that was paramount. It makes his letters such a masterclass in this direct, actionable approach.
Which brings us perfectly to how he actually applied that practical philosophy, especially in that really challenging space of giving advice with wisdom and humility. His interactions with young Nero, a fascinating, though ultimately tragic, case study.
It truly is a masterclass in subtle influence and also the inherent risks of, well, speaking truth to power. When Seneca became Nero's tutor, his official job description was teaching political strategy, law, oratory.
Not Stoicism explicitly.
Right. Direct philosophical lessons might have seemed preachy or out of line for a future emperor. But Seneca was clever. The sources say, any Stoic principles would have been snuck into his lessons like vegetables baked into a child's muffin.
I love that.
Or sugar to cover the medicine. He didn't lecture. He embedded, insinuated, suggested.
That analogy is perfect. It
Yeah.
shows that humble, empathetic approach, delivering profound wisdom where a direct confrontation would have been, well, disastrous for him, but also totally ineffective for Nero.
Exactly. He wasn't hitting Nero over the head with virtue. He was weaving those principles into lessons on governance, leadership, public speaking, making them seem like practical tools for successful reign.
So gentle persuasion, understanding the potentially volatile nature of his student.
Precisely. And a great example of this subtle approach is in his work, De Clementia, on mercy. Seneca used this novel analogy comparing the emperor Nero to a mind controlling the limbs of the citizen body.
Okay.
Now, this wasn't just saying Nero was important. It virtually embodies reason, the Stoic school's greatest good, in the person of the emperor. It was a really sophisticated piece of advice, not just flattery.
Ah, I see. So it wasn't just your great Nero, it was presenting him with an ideal to live up to,
Exactly.
trying to guide Nero towards moral principle, towards voluntary restraint of power, by framing it as the highest potential of his role, the rational mind of the state. It's like saying, this is who you could be, and it aligns with the best expression of your power, not its abuse.
Precisely put. That approach shows how effective advice can be when it resonates with the recipient's self-image, or maybe an idealized version of it. Framing virtue as the path to genuine greatness and stability, not just demanding obedience.
But it didn't ultimately work with Nero.
Tragically, no. Seneca's life demonstrates the ultimate danger of advising a tyrant who eventually rejects all moral limits. Despite Seneca's careful efforts to moderate Nero's, well, increasingly despotic behavior,
Nero demanded his death.
yeah, eliminating his old moralist's tiresome restraints, as one source puts it.
Chilling. A
Yeah.
stark reminder that even the most skillful, well-intentioned advice, especially to those resistant to wisdom, it can put your life on the line. It really highlights the courage needed.
Immense courage, moral integrity.
And this tragic outcome also underscores Seneca's crucial insights on managing our own emotions when giving counsel. You just can't advise effectively if you're swept up in your own passions. Right?
Absolutely not. Seneca consistently talks about emotions like anger, jealousy, not just as bad, but as a temporary madness.
Right, madness.
He famously compares being consumed by anger to having been thrown off the top of a building and hurtling towards the ground, completely out of control.
Wow, Viv.
It immediately shows the danger of giving advice from that state. Advice given from rage, resentment, uncontrolled emotion, it's fundamentally flawed. It won't be effective, it won't be received well. It's compromised from the start because it lacks reason, lacks detachment.
And it definitely won't be received well. Instead of lashing out, Seneca insists we don't need anger to respond, even to acts against us or loved ones.
He argues it's always better to act calmly, from a sense of loyalty, duty, justice, rather than raging for revenge, even if anger seems like it's spurring action.
Do the same thing, but guided by virtue.
Exactly, under the guidance of courage and justice. Which raises a really important question for you, listening. When you next offer advice, just pause. Ask yourself, am I driven by raw emotion here? Or by a calm, reasoned sense of what's right, helpful, virtuous? That distinction often determines the impact.
It's a crucial self-check, separating impulsive reactions from thoughtful responses. Calm action informed by virtue. That's far more likely to be constructive.
And beneficial. This principle also extends to how you communicate hard truths. Seneca's approach isn't about sugarcoating. It's about preparing the recipient for reality.
No sugarcoating at all. Take his advice to Marcia on grief. From his consolation to Marcia. It's strikingly direct, almost bracing. He tells her and us, we are all vulnerable. Our loved ones will inevitably die and could do so at any time.
Tough words.
Whatever prosperity and security we have could be taken away at any moment by forces beyond our control. This isn't meant to be morbid or cruel, though, right?
No, it's preparation, a mental exercise, what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils.
Thinking about the bad stuff beforehand.
Yeah, contemplating the fact that this could be our last day or a loved one's last day, which, paradoxically, leads to making full use of each day as it comes, appreciating the present more.
So it's a courageous, even empathetic form of advice, because it doesn't shy away from discomfort, instead of trying to soften an inevitable blow.
He prepares the receiver, allows them to internalize the reality of impermanence before crisis hits. His point is that a lot of our suffering comes from resisting reality, refusing to anticipate what's just part of the natural order.
Right.
By acknowledging and mentally preparing for loss, Seneca argues, we can reduce the shock, the debilitating impact of grief when it actually arrives. It equips you with mental fortitude before you're overwhelmed. It helps avoid judging that something terrible has happened when it's simply inevitable.
That's a powerful shift, moving from avoiding pain to mentally bracing for it, to lessen suffering. Okay, this brings us perfectly to the other side, the crucial skill of receiving feedback and criticism. We talked about giving it well, but taking it. Epictetus, the former slave-turned-philosopher, he's our guide here, starting with his core idea, the internal locus of control.
This is where Epictetus truly shines, providing the bedrock for, well, all Stoic practice, really. The very first words of his Enchiridion, that's his handbook, meant to be ready at hand for life's challenges, lay down the core distinction.
Things in our power, things not in our power.
Exactly. Of things, some are in our power and others are not. He then teaches that the path to tranquility is to make the best use of what is in our power, and take the rest as it happens. This isn't just a concept, it's the cornerstone, the absolute foundation for how you as a listener can effectively receive any input, good or bad. Our power is solely in our judgments and reactions.
Not in the external events themselves.
Okay.
That's the key, isn't it? Our reaction is always within our power, even if the criticism feels totally out of our control. Epictetus really drives this home with a sharp question.
The one about handing over your body?
Yes. If someone handed your body over to a passerby, you would be annoyed. Aren't you ashamed that you hand over your mind to anyone around for it to be upset and confused if the person insults you? That's such a powerful, aha moment.
It really is.
How often do we, without even thinking, let others' opinions, criticisms, even just random remarks, completely hijack our inner state, dictate our mood, our self-worth?
It's incredibly insightful, and once you grasp it, profoundly liberating. To receive advice or criticism well, you have to first guard your inner citadel, your proheresis, your faculty of choice, your will.
Don't hand it over.
Exactly. Letting insults or criticism disturb your mind, control your emotions, it's like voluntarily handing over your most precious possession, your rational faculty, your inner peace. Epictetus frames it as a choice, an act of self-defense almost.
Which leads right to his advice on turning challenges to use.
Yes. On every occasion, including criticism or insult, Epictetus advises, remember to turn to yourself and inquire what power you have for turning it to use. Someone's abusive.
Find patience.
Right. You will find it to be patience. If it's pain, you will find it as endurance.
This shifts the whole focus, away from blaming others or feeling victimized.
To internal agency, growth. It's not about ignoring the criticism or pretending it doesn't sting. It's about asking, okay, how can I use this input, no matter how harsh, to become better, stronger, more virtuous? It's a profound reframing, converts potential harm into fuel for self-improvement.
And a big part of doing that is consciously disentangling our judgment from the external event itself.
Indeed. Epictetus taught that our judgments are hugely important because they determine how we act, how we feel. He explains it simply. We see something, make a judgment that it is something good, which creates a desire for it, which in turn prompts us to pursue it.
And the opposite for bad judgments.
Right. Judging something as bad creates aversion, prompts avoidance. This means how you judge the feedback you get, not the feedback itself, which is just information drives your emotional and behavioral response. The words are neutral. Your interpretation gives them power.
So the feedback is like raw data. Our interpretation colors it, gives it weight. That's why Epictetus stressed having the right attitude towards externals, things outside our control.
Things like your body's possessions, reputation, and worldly success. You have no control over them, ultimately. He's not saying ignore them, but develop the right attitude towards it. Acknowledge they're transient, indifferent to your true good.
And he uses that analogy of life as a play, right?
Another powerful one, yes. Think of your life as if you were an actor in a play. You haven't chosen your role. Maybe you're a king, maybe a beggar, hero, villain. Your task is to play the role you find yourself in as best as you can.
Okay, so how does that help with criticism?
It allows you to receive criticism about your role, maybe a mistake at work, a specific performance, a perceived flaw, without taking it as a personal attack on your fundamental self, your worth as a person. It detaches the criticism from your core identity, letting you evaluate it more objectively.
That's a really useful psychological buffer. Create space between the feedback and your ego. And Epictetus's teaching style itself, influenced by Socrates, used the elenchus.
Right, the Socratic method, showing people the inconsistencies they're caught up in, showing them they don't really know what they thought they knew.
So when you receive criticism, you can apply that internally. Like, what inconsistencies in my own judgments might this feedback be highlighting?
Exactly. It's essentially an internal Socratic dialogue, a powerful tool for self-correction. Epictetus would ask his students directly, tell me, you men, do you wish to live in error? We do not.
Nobody wants to live in error.
He links not wishing to live in error directly to freedom and tranquility. So receiving criticism, even if it jars you initially, becomes this invaluable chance to spot and correct errors in your own reasoning or judgments, which ultimately leads to greater freedom, clarity, peace of mind.
So if someone criticizes my impatience,
Instead of getting defensive, you can ask internally, do I value patience? Yes. Am I acting patiently right now? Maybe not. Okay, this feedback is showing me where my actions don't match my values. How can I adjust?
Makes sense. And to help manage those immediate, like knee-jerk reactions to criticism, Seneca clarifies that difference between first movements and actual emotions.
A vital distinction for self-mastery. He notes humans naturally experience these first movements, involuntary physiological reactions, feeling nervous, shocked, scared, maybe even crying. These, he stresses, are not emotions in the Stoic sense.
They're just biological responses?
Pretty much involuntary, often hardwired, just initial sensations. The crucial point is, for these first movements to escalate into emotions proper, like debilitating fear or consuming anger, it requires the mind judging that something terrible has happened and then acting on it.
The judgment step again.
Always. True, fear involves flight, anger involves assault. This is critical for receiving criticism. You might have that initial flinch, that defensive feeling, a knot in your stomach, but that's not yet the full-blown emotion.
Yeah.
The skill, the freedom lies in that pause. Observing the initial reaction, examining your judgment about the feedback, and stopping that initial response from escalating into uncontrolled anger or defensiveness. It's in that space between stimulus and response where your choice lives.
That pause is everything. It's the gap where we exercise our freedom, apply our reason. Which brings us perfectly to how the Stoics teach us to transform adversity, including difficult feedback, into an opportunity for growth. They didn't just tolerate misfortune.
They actively reframed it, saw it as essential for living well.
Seneca takes a really radical stance here, one that can be hard to swallow at first. He basically asserts that nothing bad ever really happens, in the Stoic sense.
Because all external events are neither good nor bad in themselves. They're indifferent. It's only our judgment about them that labels them good or bad.
So, someone who truly gets this
Will simply accept what happens for what it is, without judging that something terrible has occurred. This principle is fundamental for processing tough feedback or setbacks. It strips them of their power to inherently harm you, because the harm, in the Stoic view, is in the judgment, not the event.
Wow, nothing bad ever really happens. That's profound, almost counterintuitive. But it makes sense if bad is just a value judgment we apply to indifferent things outside us.
Exact.
This also extends to grief, impermanence, things Seneca and Epictetus were remarkably blunt about. Seneca reminds us we are all vulnerable. Our loved ones will inevitably die.
And could do so at any time. And Epictetus, with his usual directness, says, "You are a fool to want your children, wife, or friends to be immortal."
Oof, not mincing words.
No. It's not meant to be callous, though. It's a fierce reminder to align our expectations with reality, with the natural order. Accepting impermanence helps you receive even devastating news, not as a personal failure or cosmic injustice.
But it's part of the unavoidable cycle.
Right. It allows for a more resilient response because expecting eternal possession or freedom from loss is, itself, a delusion. It sets us up for greater suffering. By accepting life's fragility, we can appreciate it more deeply while it lasts.
Aligning with reality, power harsh, and finding strength there. And they even saw adversity not just as something to endure, but as a training exercise.
Yes. Seneca suggests we ought to welcome misfortunes as things that can benefit us. He uses that great analogy of a wrestler.
Who gets better by fighting tough opponents.
Exactly. A wrestler benefits from taking on tough opponents and would lose skill if he only ever faced weaker challengers. Adversity in life works similarly. It lets us display our virtues, and it trains them so that we can improve.
That's a really powerful reframing. So criticism isn't an attack to avoid.
It's a sparring partner, an opportunity to hone your patience, resilience, objective self-assessment. Epictetus echoes this, adding a divine touch. When a difficulty befalls you, remember that God, like a physical trainer, has matched you against a rugged young man.
Why?
So that you can become an Olympic victor, but that cannot be done without sweat.
Incredible. It shifts the whole narrative from being a victim to being an active participant in your own growth. It really forces you, the listener, to ask, when I face a challenge, a setback, tough criticism,
Yeah.
do I see it as a burden, unfair punishment?
You're a divine training session for growth, an opportunity to forge a stronger, more virtuous self. It puts the ball firmly back in our court, demands an active, intentional response.
And part of this training, they argued, involves anticipating calamities, but without dread.
That premeditatio malorum again. It's not about ruining the present with morbid thoughts. It's about optimizing the present and reducing future suffering.
How does that work?
By imagining what we fear as it's going to happen and examining it in our mind until we can view it with detachment. We reduce the emotional punch of fear itself. It lets you mentally rehearse receiving difficult feedback, failing, facing loss.
Making the actual event less impactful.
Less emotionally impactful, yes. Allowing you to respond more calmly, constructively. As they said, fear grows by not being looked at. Strip the future of its power to surprise and overwhelm you.
That's a hugely practical strategy for emotional resilience. And this ancient wisdom, it resonates so powerfully with modern insights like Viktor Frankl's logotherapy.
Absolutely. Frankl, drawing from his horrific concentration camp experiences, highlighted that suffering without meaning is despair, which is unbearable.
But suffering with meaning.
Suffering with meaning raises man above despair and provides courage to survive. This connects so deeply to the Stoic idea of finding purpose and growth within adversity, even the most extreme kinds.
So when you get harsh criticism or fail,
Finding the meaning in it, what does it teach me? How does it strengthen my character, clarify my values? Finding that meaning transforms it from a source of despair into an opportunity for profound growth. It's actively turning inevitable suffering into a catalyst for self-discovery, resilience, purpose. It's an active choice in how you interpret the challenge.
it really shows the enduring power of these ideas, doesn't it? Spanning millennia. Okay, let's move into our final segment. Cultivating the mind for enduring wisdom. Because this isn't a quick fix, right? Not just a set of instructions.
Not at all. It's a profound, lifelong commitment. The Stoics knew that learning to live well is, paradoxically, a task that can take a lifetime. It's not a course you finish or a book you read once. Seneca noted that the wisest people he knew gave up the pursuit of pleasure, money, and success in order to focus their attention on this one task. It's a continuous journey, self-improvement, self-reflection, a daily practice of examining judgments, actions, integrating lessons.
And Seneca suggests the really potent daily practice.
Yeah.
Organize each day as if it were your last.
Yes. The man who spends all his time on his own needs, who organizes every day as though it were his last, neither longs for nor fears the next day. It's not morbid. It's a powerful philosophical exercise.
To make sure you're living with purpose, aligning actions with values, integrating lessons from advice given and received.
Exactly. It brings profound clarity to what truly matters in the fleeting present. That daily contemplation of mortality, not as dread but as a spur to action, sharpens your focus, ensures each moment is lived virtuously, deliberately. Philosophy, in this sense, isn't just intellectual concepts.
It's a way of life.
It requires spiritual exercises, as the sources say. More than just thinking, it entails a mode of living, a way of life. It's training, guiding the soul, learning how to live, how to become. It means consciously applying these principles, the art of giving and receiving advice, making them a living part of your character.
Integrating them so they become part of you, not just ideas you agree with. And part of this cultivation is being incredibly discerning about your influences. Choosing carefully who you spend time with.
Epictetus strongly advised this. Consider very carefully whom we spend time with, what influence they might have on us, how we might unwittingly end up aping what they think and do.
Like catching habits.
Or even character flaws. It's crucial not just for internalizing good habits yourself, but also ensuring the advice you seek comes from trustworthy, virtuous sources. Epictetus suggested that just like a physical illness can spread, so can bad character. Surround yourself with vice or poor judgment, and their irrationality can subtly infect you.
So, choose your company wisely.
Conversely, seek out people with good habits, people following the same path as you, people who understand and value what you are trying to do. It creates a supportive environment for both giving constructive advice and receiving it without all the noise of ego or bad intentions, like creating a virtuous ecosystem around yourself.
Okay, so after all this dedication, this continuous practice, careful cultivation, what's the ultimate prize? The grand reward for mastering this Stoic art of giving and receiving advice.
The ultimate goal, the treasure you're working towards, is tranquility, freedom, and integrity. According to Epictetus, these are the real treasures. Your own right action, your fidelity, honor, and decency.
The internal goods.
Exactly, the only things truly in our power. Unlike external achievements or possessions, they can't be taken away by any tyrant or twist of fate. The reward for embracing adversity, mastering your judgments, diligently applying these principles, it's immense. Epictetus calls it a kingdom, freedom, serenity, peace.
Not just a state of mind, but a way of living.
A profound sense of inner calm, self-possession that comes from effectively navigating life's challenges.
What a compelling vision. And it all boils down, as we've seen, to figuring out what is important and what isn't.
Which Epictetus noted we often lose sight of. We crave things over which we have no control and are not satisfied by the things within our control.
So this deep dive into Stoic advice, it's really a continuous invitation, isn't it? To regularly stop and take stock, to sit down and determine for ourselves what's worth valuing, what isn't, which risks are worth it, which aren't.
And by consistently doing that, by getting that clarity, even the most confusing or hurtful aspects of life can be made more tolerable by clear seeing and by choice.
So we've walked through Seneca's approach, empathetic but firm, giving advice often subtly, like in his letters, and Epictetus's profound insights on receiving feedback, anchoring ourselves in what's truly in our control,
Yeah.
our judgments, our responses.
And we've seen how Stoicism doesn't just put up with adversity, it actively uses it as a training ground for growth.
It's a whole philosophy, really,
Hmm.
recognizing that both sides of advice, the wisdom in giving, the humility in receiving, are equally vital for cultivating that virtuous, tranquil life.
It's an ongoing practice, demands self-awareness, courage, every step of the way.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, as you go about your week? The Stoics believe humans are rational animals by nature, meant to mature into rational, virtuous adults, unless interrupted by bad judgments, unexamined desires.
Mm.
So maybe the most effective advice you can give, the most powerful lesson, is simply to live as an example of that natural maturation, embodying reason and virtue.
Leading by example.
And maybe the greatest skill in receiving advice is using every single input, positive or negative, delivered well or poorly, to further that inner journey towards your most rational, tranquil, truly free self.
Using everything as fuel.
Right. So as you go about your week, maybe consider, are you lending your will to external influences, criticisms, letting them define your inner state? Or are you giving yourself to yourself, fostering that inner growth, that self-mastery that makes you genuinely free?